This article comes from Den of Geek UK. This article contains spoilers for the Iron Man and Avengers films, as well as Captain America, Civil War and Guardians of the Galaxy 2. If Marvel want Robert Downey Jr. to return to the MCU after Avengers 4, they'll have some serious negotiating to do. The man's contract will be up at that point, and he'll be free to move on to other things, which also leaves the studio in a position to write the character off. I can't imagine how they could, but that doesn't mean that they can't, original Iron Man director Jon Favreau admitted to IGN last year. I just can't wrap my head around that one. To me, he's the one element that has unified all of it, and I think kept a consistent tone, and the integrity of his acting ability and his talent really works wonderfully synergistically with the Marvel Universe. I think that his personality is something which helps define it. That being said, nothing would surprise me, but for me it would be a hard pill to swallow and big shoes to fill. But since Iron Man first exploded onto the screen back in Favreau's 2008 effort, each film has seen the character become just a little bit more damaged. Taking hit after hit, Tony Stark has been slowly unraveling, from the initial epiphany that he needed to change things up at Stark Industries and no longer manufacture weapons, to the realization that his best friend had become partially paralyzed by a being of his own accidental creation. He's been bombarded by heartbreaks and setbacks, most of which have been of his own doing. A bomb is not a bomb when it's a misfire. The start of Tony Stark's current arc can more firmly be placed at the end of Joss Whedon's Avengers. Stark was on a suicide mission when he decided to fly through a wormhole grasping a nuclear weapon during the final act of the film. After being savagely knocked down a peg or two by Steve Rogers, who questioned his ability to fight for anything other than himself, Stark accepted his fate while ringing girlfriend Pepper Potts to say his last goodbye. But of course, Tony didn't end up dying while saving New York from a nuclear explosion, and the fallout from his own unexpected survival has haunted him through several further installments in the MCU, including Iron Man 3, Avengers, Age of Ultron, and Captain America, Civil War. Despite making the ultimate unselfish sacrifice in an effort to prove he was worthy of being part of the team, his actions had no genuine personal consequences. Imagine deciding to end your life, then waking up and everything is fine. The character was given reinforcement about his own invincibility, but at the same time the universe simultaneously proved to him that he was closer to death than ever. At the end of Avengers, Tony is on a path that could have led a more mentally healthy person to quiet reflection, but rather than fully accepting that he is now part of a team full of equals, or betters, and no longer the protagonist of the entire galaxy, his self-centered personality flaws won't quite let him accept it, and he begins to flounder. A famous man once said, "We create our own demons." Who said that? What does that even mean? Doesn't matter. In the comics, the character has sometimes relied upon an addiction to alcohol to block out events that have shaken his narcissistic personality to the core, beginning in the late 70s with the Demon in a Bottle story arc, but other than touching on this a little during the midsection of Iron Man 2, it hasn't been further referenced in the films. Iron Man 3 director Shane Black told Comic Book Movie that Marvel just weren't on board with this version of Tony making it to the screen. "I think we were just told by the studio that we should probably paint Tony Stark as being kind of an industrialist and a crazy guy, or even a bad guy at some points, but the demon in a bottle stuff of him being an alcoholic wouldn't really fly." Instead, Stark has exposed his panic about his own mortality through some extremely visible and uncharacteristic anxiety which, along with countless reckless decisions, has forced the world to adapt to the aftermath of his shattered psyche. At the beginning of Iron Man 3, Tony is a mess. Suffering from panic attacks, insomnia and an inability to reach out to those closest to him for help, he goads the Mandarin into attacking his own house on live TV after imagining that no human antagonist could possibly be as dangerous as the unknown forces that now exist inside his mind, but outside of our world. What threat could one bad guy be after dealing with an extraterrestrial menace the likes of which he could never have previously conceived? As an end result of these actions, Pepper Potts almost dies at the hands of Aldrich Killian, a man who he dismissed and mocked years ago, back with a vengeance and a grudge, and all the more powerful in the midst of Tony's currently fragile state. While Iron Man 1 and 2 saw Sta.